It is definitely getting ready to. Ooh, August the 6th is right around the corner. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I I I think the best way to describe it right now is, that like the college entrance exam that kids have to take.
Yeah.
It's that feeling is probably the best way to describe it, where it's you can never fully prepare for it because it's just some
Mhm.
random standardized test, but you'll stress out over it and everything. And you could get into this dream school, or you don't get into it. Your life's going to go on. You go to community college like I did, and life's still going to go on and everything. So I could win. That'd be amazing. All the things that I want to achieve and to be a better representative for everyone.
Mhm.
And it'd be amazing. But if I lose, you know, I'm not trying to put that out there, but if it does happen, I knew it was a tall hill that I was climbing here. It was a lot of money I was going against, and a lot of establishment support that I was going against as well. So um, I've been realistic the whole time, and I can live with all the work that I put into it, and walk away and say, "Hey, I tried my hardest. Sometimes things just don't work out for you."
That is awesome. So tell me, like, what has the momentum been since you've been out here canvassing?
It's been good. Yeah, from the get-go. I mean, I've gotten so many messages from people now. I'll retweet some of them. I'll share some of them from people saying they voted for me and everything. But I mean, it's been the same message from when I started with just going out and getting signatures, and talking to people face to face, and from talking over the phone. The same message has been the same as, no way is this really the person who's actually running that's calling and coming up to my door and talking to me right now. And I'm like, yeah, it's me. This is the person. I want to represent you, and hear all my issues and things that I've been asked about, things that I've thought about, things that I had never heard about before, but done my research. I posted them all on my website because I want to win. I want to represent this district. But the biggest thing for me is I want to push the conversation for a lot of people. And whether you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent, I want to push the conversation in a healthy manner for people to engage, and to talk with each other and talk with people in their districts, because at the end of the day, we're all Americans, and the person that is elected, I I just don't want outside corporate money representing and backing the person that's representing our district. I want somebody who cares about this community, all parts of it, not just the wealthy parts that they come from, and is willing to represent all people in the district. Because I mean, I'm sure you know as well, this district is very diverse. It leans slightly
Yeah.
Democratic, but at the end of the day, you represent everyone, and politics can be very easy or it can be very hard with managing all of the conversations. But the easy part is you get to be yourself. You get to go out there, you get this platform to go out. I mean, I've gone to so many random festivals and events. Like, I was at this guy's backyard birthday party in Kentwood. He had like 100 some of his friends, and we met at a Juneteenth event in Grand Rapids, and he liked who I was, and he liked that I was going out there and doing the work myself. And he said, "Hey man, I'm having this party. I don't know how else I can support you other than having you come out to my party, and I'll have 100 some of my friends, and I want them to know you and feel confident to vote for you." And that's the fun and easy part for me is, I mean, I'm sure some people might get annoyed by me at times, but I'd like to think I'm pretty outgoing, and like to talk to people and have conversations. But with all my stances and everything, I hope it comes off the same way with my website and how I designed it. Is those are my stances. That's how I've come to my logic and everything. I link the articles that I've done my research on, and if you don't agree with it, or if you do support it, you can at least see where my articles came from and where I got my headspace from. So that way you can say, Salim, I don't think you're thinking about it from this aspect. Can I show you this? Um, like I said, this district is diverse, and I have friends that don't support some of my stances, and they've challenged me on certain things. And I think that has set me up as a better politician as well, because I want to move past this primary, move on to the general election. So
Hmm.
it's really set me up for that general election as well, because you got to get those independent voters if you want to win this district. So it's important that you're pushed on every single topic. So you're challenged, you know where they're coming from and what they're going to say to you, and you're prepared. And I feel like I'm the most prepared because I've had those conversations.
Now, I'm glad you brought up the independent voters, because we have, like, I think I really want to believe the independent voters. This is the most they have been out and voiceful in a long time.
Yeah,
And everybody knows I'm a Dem to my heart, but honestly, I feel as though our our people are more concerned of which directions we're going and how we're going about doing things. I've talked to a lot of people this year, and they're not happy with either party, to be honest.
yeah.
So, what challenges have you found while you are out canvassing and trying to encourage? Because you're on a Democratic Party slate, and that Democratic Party slate, it's crazy right now. So,
Yeah.
how are you managing through that?
I think the biggest thing is setting realistic expectations for everyone, and that's where I'm challenging an incumbent. So it's important when you're having conversations with people to set realistic expectations. I saw a recent interview from her as well, where I think she must have seen something from me, calling out and critiquing some of her stances on things. Um, and saying that it's easier to throw stones from outside. And when I say managing expectations, I'm talking about I'll be one of 435 reps in Congress. So to say that I'm going to go out there and change things overnight, that's not realistic. And I understand that. And when talking to people, I go, I will be a first term congressperson, a congressman, so to say that I would even have much leverage in negotiations on things, it's not very realistic with things. But I go, I want everyone to know that at least they can say their congressperson is not being bought by PACs and lobbyist interests. And again, it goes back to how I've put everything out there on my website and having conversations with people on certain things. I mean, it is a slight Democratic but and split district, but at
Mhm.
the end of the day, I think the biggest conversations that I've had with people are they don't feel like their politicians are representing them. They don't feel like they have a connection with them, and they don't feel like they're having real conversations and making themselves available once they get to Washington D.C. So that's been something that I know at least I can promise to people is I won't be accepting PAC or super PAC money. I know we've talked about it before. I'm self funding this, and I'm not a millionaire. And there's a reason that I've been going out and having those conversations. Is if you want to work for my team, you're doing it as a volunteer, so you better be really passionate about me,
Yes.
because I don't have any money to pay you. So I think that's been the biggest thing that people
Do
have really appreciated.
do you think that by you not having the financial income the other candidates have, do you find that kind of deterring you a little bit, or is it not even phasing you?
I mean, I know it's not setting me up for the best position, but that was again, it's all about managing expectations. When you're in your I don't know when you were first starting your nonprofit, you weren't going to hit the ground and all of a sudden have hundreds of people that you were impacting right away. It's okay. I'm going to start by just forming the group. All right, now let me get my board in order. All right, now let me get some events going, and you're going to get a couple events, and then the next year you set up even more from there. So I think just having those expectations, and for me, it hasn't really phased me because I knew going in, I wasn't going to have millions of dollars behind me.
Right.
Um, but at the same time, I don't think you need millions of dollars behind you to to make that big of an impact if you're committed to it. I mean, my opponent democratically, Hillary, she raised almost $4 million last election cycle, and this election cycle, I think the last article I saw with everyone's filing was she still had like 2.6 million on hand. And I go into some areas and they're like sorry, you're running for U.S. House of Representatives. Who are you running against? Like, who's the person right now? And it's like, that just tells me I'm that you have that she hasn't put in the work to go out there and meet with people. And I mean, that's the same way that you and I met at the super majority event.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Paula as well, meeting her there. And I think there's somebody else that was, once I walked in and introduced myself, there was a couple people that turned and were like, "Wait, I've seen your name and stuff. What are
Yeah.
you doing here?" And it's like, well, I'm willing to show up to anything and everything, whether you're, again, a part of my party or not. I want to hear what people have to say.
Well, I can honestly say you have been moving. I've noticing the signs everywhere. You have been around, and I think that's what a lot of the citizens would like to see. More of the candidates coming out themselves instead of sending someone to speak for them. I think that that's the old fashioned way, as Miss Patsy would say, where the candidates actually knocked on the doors themselves and say, hey, how you doing? Um, I know Hill Harper actually gets out and knocks doors himself as well. I'm not
Oh yeah.
saying the candidates don't, but I'm
Yep.
saying it does help a whole lot more. Um, when you do, because
Hmm.
that makes the citizens feel like, hey, they took the time out to come knock on my door to say, hey, can you please vote for me, and to talk to me and to answer my questions. That means a lot to people, and I don't think a lot of candidates really understand that. And I know for a fact that this year is going to be a crazy election because it's a lot of firsts. If Kamala gets in, then you got two women on the first Black Supreme Court. Just I mean,
Yep.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
So then for you, if you get in, you know what I'm saying? It's just like a lot of firsts for this election this year,
Yep.
and it's very hard because a lot of the community and a lot of the people have lost their way when it comes to voting this year.
Yep.
So, do you have any ideas or plans to help people get out to vote so you can make sure, like, hey, you know, um, I know a couple of people have ideas. Miss Patsy Petty, she started she, I know she was talking about the souls from church,
Okay.
save a soul or something she was saying, but
Okay.
where the churches all come together, and I think this would be a wonderful idea. I know long time ago when I was first, my mother was back doing this. I know churches used to be involved in a lot back in the day, and
Mm.
now our churches in our own communities barely step up to the plate at all and get involved in voting. I remember when I was coming up, churches were the actual ones that really help candidates, get to where they are, because
Yeah.
you got a lot of church members. Everybody gonna listen to what the pastor say. If the pastor
Yep.
say get your butt up and go vote, you gonna get up and go vote. You know,
Yeah.
he'll tell you before you put that tithe in there, no, go vote. And I miss that because that was a mainstream for us to get out and vote, to be informed. Now we
Mm.
barely have that, so we just have like this person here, or this group here. Um,
Yep.
how do you? What are some of your ways that you attract new voters?
Yeah. I I have a question for you with like the church stuff. Do you feel like they've kind of shied away or backed away from the get out the vote stuff
Oh,
because of the toxicity?
definitely. They definitely
Okay.
have. I really, matter of fact, I know a couple of pastors. They don't want to bring politics into the church,
Mm. Yep.
and I
Yep.
can understand to a certain degree, you
Yep.
know. But I believe that like in this time right now,
Mm.
where we have, we can either, I want to say it like this: we either gonna get set up to set us ahead 10 years, or
Mm.
we're either gonna get set up to set us back 10 years.
Gotcha.
So either or, it's kind of crazy, and kind of it makes you nervous, you
Yeah.
know. And I wouldn't want the churches to be who the citizens relied on to say, okay, you go vote for that person. To be perfectly honest, and I
Mm,
say that only because you have different views now. It's not like it used to be. You know, it used to be we all was Democrats, no matter what.
yep.
Now everybody is independent, Democrat, Republican. You got Republicans turning Democrat. You got Democrats returning Republican. You know, it's crazy now. It's
Yep.
not like it used to be. You used to could know and who really wanted to help make change. Now
Yep.
you can't, because now you got people just running. Oh, I'm gonna run as a Democrat because I can't win against this Republican. So I'm gonna go
Mm,
pretend like I'm a Democrat so I can at least get in and I possibly can get this seat. You know, and I think that's real grimy and shady.
yeah.
So I wouldn't
I,
really say I really wouldn't want the churches to, do like
well,
they.
that's kind of how I've been feeling, and I I would definitely say, like, since being a candidate, I've it changes your perspective on things as far as I mean, I saw an article come out of the Detroit Free Press saying I was a non credible candidate because I
Oh
didn't
wow.
have a bunch of money behind me. And I go, this is a newspaper that it was the editorial section, I guess, but you know, at least take the time to interview everyone and to say,
Mhm.
hey, what are some of your issues? How do you address um I, certain stances on things? And I mean, Fox 17, the local news in Grand Rapids, they did a great job of giving us, it was about 25 minutes or so, to really talk about things in long form. I went with WZZM 13 and Wood TV 8, and it's like, all right, here's 4 minutes. Tell us about yourself, your issues. Why are you running? How are you going to change everything? And it's like, like, how am I supposed to summarize that in four
Right.
minutes? Because I'm gonna leave one thing out, and somebody's gonna text me or email me and say, "Oh, I guess you were fake when you came by our thing because you forgot to say that." And it's like it's better in a long form, and we need to open up these conversations more with people to talk about things. And I've tried to maintain expectations the whole time with people that I'm 31, and when you're running for this stuff, you're maintaining the outreach side of things. You're also
Mhm.
trying to maintain staying up to date on every current event that's going on and policies and votes that are going through, and it's a lot to keep up with. Um, but as far as getting out and connecting with younger people and different people that may not be as active as voters, man, it's just going to every event possible that you can and door knockings, and getting to those communities that aren't engaged very much.
Right.
Um, I mean, the like for Grand Rapids, for example, I did go a little bit to like the downtown area, but to be
Mhm.
honest, that's a really engaged political area. To me, going into Kentwood, Wyoming, those are less engaged areas, and I know, no offense to my Democratic opponent or I guess Republican opponents as well, but I know they aren't putting in that groundwork into those communities. So I guess from my standpoint, it's like, well, those are people that haven't been influenced by another candidate. Why not get in there and try to connect with those people? Because I know nobody's coming to those areas or talking to those people. So at least you're showing face and you're showing, oh,
Right. So your thing is, let me get out here where they won't go.
yeah,
That's great.
exactly. So, um,
So let me ask
and
you this. Project 2025.
yeah,
What are your main concerns about Project 2025?
short answer would be just the deregulation of everything, and defunding of things. Um, I mean, it's a lot. To I was trying to go through it. It's so many sections to it, but I
Hmm.
would say that's the short answer. Is the biggest one is the deregulations of things. I mean, you can go into the school systems. the biggest one for me was the media stuff that I was seeing, because that's people's education on topics. It was, they wanted to cut funding to like NPR, and how they quoted it was liberal news sources. And I go, if you do that, not only are people not going to know about some of the stuff that's going on, they're even somebody that is involved isn't going to be aware to challenge and to bring it up to their friends and to their neighbors. So that was the biggest one that I saw. That was like, doing things in the dark is the scariest thing always when it comes to government, because we there was the big spending bill in the springtime, that $1.2 trillion spending package, where it was passed, or it was brought forward the night before and was passed the next day. And I go, that needs to be scrutinized. And I feel like politicians, when, I don't know how realistic it would be, but almost like once a month or once every 2 months, should be scrutinized and sat down with their local media networks to say every vote that they voted on has to be scrutinized, and say, all right, explain why you voted yes or no on this one. So,
Hmm.
the access to being able to scrutinize. Yeah.
Okay. So tell the community why we should vote for you. Why are you the candidate for us?
Yeah. Biggest thing for me is I'm just trying to bring transparency and honesty back to politics. I think I read a stat that it was 26% of people believe their politicians are being, or that they're confident in their politicians acting on their behalf. Um, some of the issues that I bring up is, you're going to have tax breaks. Um, 2017 Tax and Jobs Cuts Acts from Donald Trump. His tax breaks are going to go up in 2025. So negotiating that stuff. I've been a small business owner. So understanding the need to separate the small businesses from the Fortune 500 companies. Small businesses are the ones that are actually in the community and invested there, while the Fortune 500 companies are the big ones that don't have much community ties and are avoiding paying the federal taxes. I mean, you can read all these articles about these Fortune 500 companies avoiding paying federal taxes, and honestly increasing our national debt even more because they're not paying it. Um,
So, question.
yeah.
What um basically would you do different that Hillary is doing different as far as small businesses? Because I do know she focuses on small businesses a lot to try to help them funding and to keep and make sure they're staying afloat. So, what would you do different that she's doing than what she's doing different now?
Yeah. So in 1953, there was a Small Business Administration Act that said the federal government has to spend 23% of taxes or federal spending on small businesses. I would recommend upping that. She sits on that board, and I would recommend upping it. Aggressively would be to say up it to 50%. So that way more money is being pumped into these small businesses. Um, because that'd be the easiest impact that you'd be seeing in the communities, especially Muskegon and West Michigan is a huge manufacturing area. Um, and yeah, you'd see a lot more of these um, manufacturing jobs coming back, and support for them. So that'd be the biggest thing as far as small businesses that I would recommend to her.
Mhm.
Um, when the tax breaks come up and that renegotiation happens, I'd recommend keeping. I hope that she votes in favor of keeping the corporate tax rate where it's at,
Mhm.
because when I was a small business owner, that when it was lowered to 21%, that helped me to reinvest it into my business and to pay my staff even more as well. Um, because yeah, we had more money to spend there. And we weren't, it was just me and my buddy as a small business, and then we had our part-time employees, but we were able to spend more on our staff and invest more into the business to grow it. And from there we were able to create a nonprofit called the Better Coast Foundation, because we had, more staff that we could kind of disperse and take over other stuff, so we had more time to get into other projects, which was the nonprofit space that we wanted to get into, which was the Better Coast Foundation. Removed over 800 pounds of trash from Muskegon and Grand Haven area beaches with our business or nonprofit there.
Okay, okay. Well,
Yeah.
August the 6th is just like a couple days away. Are you nervous?
I'm excited. I mean, I've been putting in the work since January I officially launched the campaign to go after the seat. So No, the district, I mean, it hits on every part of my life. I mean, born and raised in Muskegon, my first full time business was in Ottawa County, in the Spring Lake area. And then the first time I ran for state rep was in Southeast Grand Rapids. So that was kind of my start of politics. I sat on the Grand Rapids, the city of Grand Rapids Planning Commission board, um, and ran for state rep in 22. And yeah, so that was my first introduction to politics, and I was an alternate delegate through the state party, helping with Hillary's reelection efforts before I decided to step away and to challenge her. So it really hits on every part of my life. I, yeah, I mean, more active with coming to the Lakeshore just because my dad is from he worked for the city of Muskegon for 20 some years as well. So I go around and I see those people and they're like, "You're Muhammad's son, aren't you?" And I'm like, well, yeah, but I didn't want to lean into that. I'm my own person, you know? So,
Yeah, 'cause I bet you a lot of people in Muskegon don't know who your father is and that he was actually a employee of the city of Muskegon.
mhm.
So that you know, most people would have used that, and I'm shocked you didn't. Um, you
I,
are a man of my heart because when I got into this, I did not let anyone know whose daughter I was, because I wanted people to get to know me for me. You know, oh,
yep,
that oh, that's Joyce's daughter. You know,
yep,
now they know. You know, so they put it all together. Oh, okay.
yep.
You know, but I really I commend you for doing that because a lot of
Thank you.
people would just took it and ran with it, be like, oh, you know, my dad was so and so, and use
Yep,
that, you know, as leverage to build up and to get to where they
yep.
want to go. So, like I said, I really commend you for standing out here on your own, wanting people to know who you are for you,
Thank you.
and that says a lot. That
Thank
says
you.
a lot, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people once they see this and they hear that they're going to think the same thing and think the same way that I think, you know, like that means a lot, especially in politics, because a lot of people in politics, man, this political stuff is it's no joke. I can
Gets
honestly say,
pretty nasty.
yeah, it gets real nasty. Like, man, it's worse than the gangs. Like when we doing beefs, like if we into it, at least in the gangs, you know who your enemy is. But in
Yeah.
politics, you never know because there's so many people trying to get to the top. And
Um,
man, all I can say about politics, everybody, politics is exactly what you see it in the movies. It ain't no lie, it ain't no sugarcoating. When you watching Tubi or any other movie, I guarantee you, politics is the same way. It's not a lie, y'all. It ain't no joke.
yeah.
This be real live stuff here. You know, people, politics
Uh,
is not a joke. Like
uh,
it's really
and that's the frustrating part is because, at the end of the day, we're all Americans, and it's why are we not there? There's the UAW president Sean Fain when they were
not.
having the contract negotiations. Um, he had such a good speech in line where he said, "It's not Republican versus Democrat; it's working class versus the wealthy class,"
Yes.
and I brought that up to people where, they're asking me, "What are some of the things that you're thinking about and focusing on?" And I go, "Well, with my party, we're definitely focusing on women's reproductive rights." And I agree with that, and that's why I'm a supporter of the Equal Rights Amendment Act because even opponents of it have said that if the ERA, are you familiar with it? I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Um, That's all right. But the ERA, it was passed in 1970. It was ratified by 38 states in 2020, and it was all set to become law. And it would have protected against Dobbs versus Jackson. Opponents of the ERA have even come out and said this. So if the ERA is ready to become law, if Biden wants to take that call, or if, Vice President Harris, if she wins, if she makes that call, that can be passed and offer more protections there. Um, but some of the other things that I focus on is stuff that I think we've talked about before is like the big pharmaceutical companies that are impacting a lot of people's lives as well. Um, it's one of the top lobbyist groups out there. They're spending, I think, $15 billion lobbying politicians
Mm-hmm.
last cycle, and I think they're expected to up it to 20 billion now. And I brought up the simple fact when I was talking to a reporter. I go, The U.S. and New Zealand are the only two countries that allow direct-to-consumer advertisements with prescription drugs. And in the U.S., we just had our highest death toll with overdoses of 107,000. And I think we were talking about this when we first met. Was why is that not more of an issue for people to talk about and to address there?
Right.
Because that goes beyond party lines for me. I mean, we all want to make sure our families, our kids, our loved ones are safe. And so why is that not being talked about more?
Right.
So
Wow.
uh,
Well, I'm super excited. I'm nervous for you. Nervous,
there,
very. But like I said, I'm excited to see how this turns out. I
thank you.
wish you well. Is there anything that you want to tell the community while we are on so they'll
Yeah.
know time is ticking? Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
So the August 6th primary, I'll be on the ballot for U.S. House of Representatives in the Democratic primary. I'm running against Hillary Scholten. The things that separate us is I'm not accepting PAC or super PAC money. I'm a big supporter of banning politicians from trading individual stocks. I personally have sold all of my stocks. I have my financial disclosure listed on my About Me section of my website as well, because I just want to show the transparency and try to rebuild that trust with the people to know even if you don't agree with a vote of mine or something, you at least know it's coming from me and not some billionaire PAC lobbyist group out there. And I'm going to come back to the district and I'm going to have to face whatever people have to say about me because I feel like that calibrates politicians at all times. Is if you actually go out and meet with people in your district, if you had a bad vote and clearly voted in favor of a lobbyist group, you're going to have to face the community on that. And
right.
this is a community that I was born and raised in. I'd like to stay around here, and I want to face whatever I vote on and stuff. So those are two big things for me. I'm obviously a pro-choice candidate as a Democrat, so I don't highlight that as much with Hillary and I just because we both are. I do highlight the fact that I've supported the ERA. I've joined Zoom calls as well with independent candidate Jill Stein, Marianne Williamson as well before, and talking about that ERA and trying to get more attention to it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I've also talked about healthcare with the big pharma. I support banning pharmaceutical companies and drug manufacturers from advertising direct to consumers because I don't think people's health should be for sale and should be a top industry for these people. Um, the top 30 companies, as far as revenue, 20% of them are occupied by health insurance companies and drug manufacturers. Um, you're going to see an FTC case coming out here pretty soon about these groups called pharmacy benefit managers that I've been trying to highlight a lot more to people. They were, you'll see the campaign commercials about Medicare negotiating the price of insulin for seniors and capping it at 35. Well,
Oh,
they could have gone a lot further with it and breaking up these monopolies of these pharmacy benefit managers that were originally, I think it was in the 50s or 60s, they were supposed to negotiate and manage the production of these prescription drugs. Well, 80% of your prescription drugs are now produced by three pharmacy benefit managers. So they've created this monopoly system, and the FTC might bring a case here forward pretty soon. And that's really important to me because I think that'll lower everyone's costs, prescription drugs wise, for everyone.
okay. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm a Medicare for All supporter as well. I've brought that up for so many reasons for people. Um, we should have a safety net for people. I mean, we should be doing pre-screening because we've gone from in 1960 spending 5% of our GDP on healthcare costs to now
Mm-hmm.
we're up to 17%. 90% of that is on chronic diseases, diabetes being one of them there. And if we had a public option for people to feel that they can actually afford health insurance and some type of coverage and be able to go to the doctors and not um, feel like they're going to go bankrupt, we can save a
Mm-hmm.
lot of lives doing that. And we can also support more people going into entrepreneurship because you won't be paying $400 a month for crappy health insurance coverage. So those are some of the big highlights for me that I would say I'm about there.
Well, that's awesome. Awesome. I'm so glad we was able to come back one again and
Thank you.
do this again so the
Thank you.
community know who you are. And I just really wanted to get you on, just so they can
Thank you.
hear little from you. Um,
Definitely.
I just when I met you, I liked what you had to say.
Thank you.
So yeah, I just wanted you to get out and let the people see everybody that was out here trying to run for office because they need to know, listen
Hmm.
for yourselves and be your own person. So I thank you for
Definitely.
this opportunity, and I appreciate you coming on and talking with me.
Of
Um,
course.
and good luck.
Thank you.
I'm know we'll stay in touch. I know
Hmm.
I'll talk to you again on the 6th, though, of
Yep.
course.
Sounds
So,
good.
right. Well, thank you again. I
Yes.
appreciate it. I appreciate it. And again, good luck, and I'll see you on the 6th.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you so
Right.
much for taking the time and doing all this. So I really
Oh,
appreciate it.
it's definitely no problem. It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Perfect. Of course.
So you have